Everybody, welcome back to Assen as we get set shortly for the next free practice session for the DTM. There's a slight delay because we had an accident earlier on in one of the other sessions for the Dutch Supercar Challenge. There's a bit of barrier repair work that had to be undergone, so the session is likely to start 5, maybe 10 minutes behind schedule, but we'll be ready to go as soon as the cars are released and given the signal. But we've just had a session for DTM Trophy, which is just literally 1 or 2 minutes ago ended, so those cars have cleared the track. I think 1 or 2 bits of debris being taken up by the marshalling team, and then we'll be good to go with this 45-minute free practice 2 session. I'm Chris Hartley. I'll talk you through all of the action. Just a quick recap first, though, if you weren't watching earlier on, as to how it went on. But before that, this is the reason that we're being delayed, because this was a replay of the accident from the Dutch Supercar Challenge, which caused some barrier repair. So a couple of cars making contact, and then so the 106 car heading straight into the barriers nose on, and it was the barrier repair work, I think, which took longer than the damage to the car to cause the delay. But that is confirmation on the screen that the session is going to start at 3:20, so only around about 4.5 minutes away from getting going again. That was the Lamborghini, Boda Racing Lamborghini that you saw heading into the barriers. Big grid as well. I think they've got 40 cars this weekend in the Dutch Supercar Challenge, so that was a bit of drama out on circuit. It was Bob Herber's car that went off, and hopefully it'll be okay and the car will be in the session. But we can see that our session is now almost ready to go. The cars have been released, they've been given the signal, and yes, just before we went into that replay, I was about to tell you how it went earlier on today with the first free practice session. Times being topped by Philip Ellis in his Team Winwood Mercedes. He'd concentrated really on a longer run pace for most of the session, but then went out almost out of the blue almost at the end of the session, putting 1 quick lap, and that lap was quick enough to put him at the top of the time. So Philip, who's been a race winner already this season, his first year of DTM, and multiple podium finisher, was on the podium in one of the races last time out at the Red Bull Ring. He was quickest, 1:33.684 seconds, the best time so far, and the gap from first to second was just 40 thousandths of a second, because Nico Muller, who'd topped the times for most of the session earlier on, had set a 1:33.724. So Nico's in need of a good result, and maybe even a podium, which he's been lacking since the very first weekend of the season. Good start to the weekend for the Team Rosberg driver. So he did a 1:33.7. Liam Lawson, double winner at the Red Bull Ring and up to second in the championship after a fantastic 2 days, or 3 days really, over in Austria. Did a 1:33.943. So he was third, but he was 0.25 seconds away from the fastest time. Mirko Bortolotti, one of the guest drivers this weekend with the T3 Motorsport squad, who ran a third Lamborghini at Spielberg a couple of weeks ago. Mirko, the former Blancpain GT champion, has come in this weekend as a Lamborghini factory driver. Somebody who knows the car very well indeed, so that should help T3 Motorsport. He was 4th quickest with a 1:33.993, and they were the drivers that broke the 1:34 second barrier. A view inside the cockpits of some of the drivers, some in the pit lane, some staying in the garage for now. That was Marco Wittmann he saw just now, who wasn't particularly quick in terms of single lap pace in that last session, Marco Wittmann, but a driver that's 4th in the championship, a 2-time champion, one to watch. There is Alex Albon, who's one of the 2 Ferrari drivers with the AF Corsa squad, Amato Ferrari's squad that had so much success internationally in GT racing, running Liam Lawson and Alex Albon, who will be recently announced will be back in Formula 1 as a race driver next year. He's still very much involved in Formula 1 as a development driver for Red Bull, but he'll be racing for the Williams Formula 1 team next year, replacing George Russell, who is off to Mercedes, as no doubt you know. There's Liam Lawson then. Stellar weekend at the Red Bull Ring. Now, he was somebody, again, who didn't see that much of in terms of single lap pace in the first free practice session, and a bit like Philip Ellis, he went out late on, got his head down and stuck a quick lap in. So Liam was lingering for much of the session, around about 2/3 of the way down the table, but he put that lap in towards the end and did a 1:33.943 to go 3rd quickest. The championship leader, who is now only 12 points clear of Liam Lawson, Kelvin Vanderlinder, was 10th in the first free practice session this morning. Started off well and was in the top 4 was quickest for a while actually, but as others got quicker, he dropped down the order a little bit, so 10th place with a 1:34.487, 8/10 of a second away from the top time. There's the first sequence of corners that you can see on this 4.55-kilometre long circuit here at Assen, through turn 1 into this double right at turns 2 and 3. That left-hander, which leads out onto the back straight at turn 5, which is absolutely critical to get a good exit here. And other drivers still waiting to go, including Kelvin Vanderlinder, the championship leader, now given the signal by AB Sportsline. The marshal waves him out of the garage, and Kelvin headed out onto the circuit. Likes this circuit and was very much looking forward to driving here, but he'll be hoping that the Audis are that little bit sharper, a little bit more competitive than they were in Austria, where he could only muster a 5th and a 6th place finish from the 2 races. Still decent results, but when you're fighting for a championship, you don't want to be losing points like he did too often to drivers like Max Gotts and in particular Liam Lawson. So in fairness though, he was very close to pushing for a podium in the first race. I think he got the best from the car, damage limitation, but he won't want too many more weekends like that. So Kelvin Vanderlinder out on the road. And in this 45-minute session, they're going to be pushing for qualifying type runs, because the next time after this they go out on track is going to be for tomorrow's 20-minute qualifying session tomorrow morning to determine the grid for race 1, which will be round 11 of the 2021 DTM Championship.
Good gap in front, and behind you have already overtook Hauki.
It's a busy lap here at Assen, so we had team radio from Kelvin Vanderlinder in the first free practice session, and he has to pick his moments as to when to reply to his race engineer. Some very quick sequences of corners here, hard, heavy braking areas into some of the chicanes around the lap as well. And as ever, but particularly here at this circuit, you've got to be very wary of track limits, particularly when it gets to qualifying on the races. So it's so much of an issue here in practice. But if you lose a lap time in qualifying, can make a huge, huge difference. So flinging it over the curbs, getting ready to start his first flying lap of the session is Kelvin Vanderlinder. Made his way out of the Terma box and then into turn 1. This right-hander running wide though, Kelvin Vanderlinder, all the way over the curbs and beyond. So a little bit understeer, well, a huge amount of understeer to send him off the road at that point. So looking at times of the 1:33s, they are likely to be getting in, I reckon, to the 1:32s tomorrow, once they'll bolt new Michelin slick tyres on, ready for qualifying. Mirko Bortolotti has set the best first sector time of this session so far, on the 1:33. But Arjun Maini gets a 1:35.54 to go very early doors quickest. That's not a sensational lap. As I say, we should be looking at times in the 1:33s really, but Arjun gets his session underway. I didn't see a great deal of him in free practice 1, but he did do a decent number of laps, and in the end was 17th Arjun in the Get Speed Mercedes. Mirko Bortolotti puts a 1:35.7 in to go second for now. And there's the 2013 champion, Mike Rockenfeller. What can he do to help his teammate over the final 3 race weekends? His championship charge having fallen away a little bit with 3 consecutive non-points finishes for Mike Rockenfeller, having had 7 on the trot, where he was in the points to begin the season with. Daniel Hunkadea, who fractured his thumb a couple of rounds ago, drove through the pain barrier, had an operation. He's looking quick here so far this weekend and is on a personal best first sector. There he is, Danny, in the number 8 Group M Racing Mercedes. So usually the way of these practice sessions is to go out for a quick lap early on, then it settles down after about 10 minutes where they try some longer runs, and then 1 or 2 of them might go out again for another qualifying dummy run at the end of the session. Christian Kling going well in the JP Motorsport McLaren. He was up there in the first part of the first free practice session in terms of times. Lucas Auert looks like he's about to go quickest of all, though, so far. Rockenfeller's got that for now, but Hungadao goes a bit quicker, 1:35.057, but Lucas Auer is going to be much quicker than that, 1:34.7. Here is Christian Kleiner, the ex-Grand Prix racer, the Austrian, who's in his third weekend of DTM. Guest start for him, so he's not available to, or not able to pick up championship points, but he's very much able to race, and he's quick. He goes second behind Lucas Auer. Vincent Abrel's gone third into the 1:34s, but still, the time should be getting quicker than this. Very busy circuit as the drivers look to make the most of this. The air temperature is a tiny bit higher than it was earlier on. It's just 19.5 degrees now, so it's a nice warm afternoon in Assen. The track temperature has improved a lot, or increased a lot, whether it's improved, but it was 19 degrees. It's over 25 degrees now. So should be some quick times here. Mike Rockenfeller's on absolute best sector 1, absolute best sector 2, and Timo Glock has gone quickest for now with a 1:34.690, but Mike Rockenfeller is about to smash that one to smithereens, I think. Can he be the first in this session to get to the 1:33s? Not quite, I don't think. Through he goes, 1:34.67 seconds. So by 12 thousandths of a second, he goes quicker than Timo Glock. Audi ahead of BMW. Mercedes Auer in third. Championship leader Kelvin Vanderlinder in fourth place. Teammate to Mike Rockenfeller on board with Liam Lawson. A bit wide on the exit to that last corner, but he's on a personal best lap here. However, 37.3 is not that quick in the middle sector, so I don't think he's going to be pushing right at the very top of the time. So I've had an absolute best from Daniel Hungadea in the final sector of that lap, which means I reckon he's on charge for a quick lap this time around. So we've got a good exit from the final chicane. He'll be pushing on this lap, Hungadea. Lawson improves, but as I say, it's not a particularly stellar lap, so that's 16th place. Esteban Muth, though, goes to the top of the times, 1:34.218. Nearly half a second quicker than anybody else so far. But again, if the track is as quick as it was earlier, we should be going about half a second to 3/4 of a second quicker than this. The track will have changed in the 2 hours since we ended the previous session, which will go on board with Max Gotts, the driver, third in the championship standings. And you've got to bear in mind there's lots of other sessions racing and practicing on track at Assen this weekend, all with different compounds, different brands of tyres, so they'll be laying different amounts of rubber onto the circuit. So not just the air and track temperature that changes, it's the makeup of the circuit in terms of how much rubber and grip is laid down on the track. All the dust will have been cleared up from this morning. As Esteban Muth starts another quick lap here, absolute best in the first sector of 36.499 seconds. He's 2/10 quicker than anybody else on this lap at the moment through this first sector. And 4/10 quicker than Mirko Bortolotti in the Lamborghini. Nico Muller, who was second quickest this morning, has improved, but he's only in 10th place as it stands. You're on board with the championship leader Kelvin Vanderlinder, who's fifth at the moment. Esteban Muth loses time in the middle sector. Here he is, Esteban, the 19-year-old. One of the rookies in DTM this year, currently second in the junior championship, but a long way behind Liam Lawson in points in that respect. Through he goes. Christian Klein has gone up to second place with a 1:34.638. Personal best lap for him, personal best for Timo Glock, but he drops to third. Rockenfeller fourth has gone into the pits. Auer, who was the first one to go into the pits, has gone back on track now, so he's fifth place in the Mercedes. And then it's Kelvin Vanderlinder down to sixth, Hungadea seventh, Abrel eighth, but into the pits. Sheldon Vanderlinder, race winner here last year at Assen, ninth, and Nico Muller, as I say, in 10th place. Liam Lawson's improved, but only up to 14th. So the first sector, which is Esteban Muth, is quickest through the first sector. Timo Glock is quickest through the middle of the lap. And then Muth was quickest at the end of the lap. There's Marco Wittmann, who's stone last at the moment because he hasn't really put a lap in. He's been around, but he hasn't put a proper lap in yet. So Marco Wittmann yet to make his mark in this session, going through the shot, followed by this man, Liam Lawson, pushing hard, straight off the plane from Monza last weekend. FIA Formula 2 racer, charging along now. And there's somebody who used to race in Formula 2 a decade ago, former FIA Formula 2 champion, former Italian Formula 3 champion, and former Blancpain champion Mirko Bortolotti, who's gone for a personal best lap as it stands. Now, Marco Wittmann, I mentioned he hadn't put a lap in yet, and he puts one lap in, and it's straight away up to second place, 134.434. That Lamborghini looks mega through the quick corners. Looks to be absolutely planted here as he makes his way through the final chicane. Over the start-finish line he goes. This should be a decent lap. It's 8th place for Bortolotti. So the Lamborghinis looking much more on it, much more like we're used to seeing them than they did at Spielberg, which was definitely an off weekend for the T3 Motorsport team. So Wittmann, personal best lap last time around. Well, it would be, because it was his first proper flying lap. Going to second, he's the best of the BMWs. Timo Glock second, but Sheldon Vanderlinder is not to be forgotten about, and he's also improving, going up to 7th place. Devastating puncture, rear puncture for him, putting him out of contention for a potential podium finish 2 weeks ago in Austria. That was after car damage put him out of race at the Nürburgring, where he got himself up to 2nd place. So can his fortune change? The 21-year-old South African will be hoping so. He's looking good here. The BMWs, the 3 of them, are up there in the top 7. There's Lucas Auer. Very much a well-known DTM racer these days, but see somebody else that started his career in single-seaters, in Formula 3 in particular. Where he was a very strong competitor. 6th place after that lap. His best of 134.7, did a 138.1 on that lap, so it wasn't bad. Bertolotti flies into the frame in the number 63 Lamborghini Huracan, but then pulls off the circuit and heads for the pits. So a frenetic start to the session. The first 12 minutes was busy. Lots of cars out on track, not many visiting the pits. And some quick lap times, but not as quick as we went this morning. 133.684 from Philip Ellis this morning remains the quickest time of the day so far. Esteban Muti's quickest in this session, but his best times are 134.218, as you can see from the graphics. So 0.6 of a second adrift. As Mirko Bortolotti is run through the technical check area before being released and sent back to his garage. His driver has been around for a long time, Bertolotti, but still only 31 years old. From Trento in Italy. He lives in Vienna, fluent in German, and hoping to help the German team, T3 Motorsport, to perhaps their best weekend so far. As Max Gotts goes back out. A standout driver this year, no doubt about it, in terms of race results, has been Esteban Muti, who's 12th in the championship, and his and the team's best result so far this year for T3 Motorsport, a 5th place finish at the Nürburgring. So quick turnaround, cars straight back out. Maximilian Buch, who was in and out of the pits quite a bit in the final 15 minutes or so of the first free practice session, has just improved up to 13th place. He's running slightly out of sync with the others as Liam Lawson runs through the shop, and Esteban Muti heads for the pit lane exit. And more limits warnings are coming up on the official notification screen from race control. Pretty much, again, every driver being warned that they must respect track limits. Their cards have been marked, and lap times can be taken away from them, and that can really damage your qualifying run. And if your qualifying run is damaged, it can have a real huge impact on the rest of your weekend. Just ask Liam Lawson when they hadn't quite got that Ferrari qualifying where they wanted to at events like Zolder. He put them in the middle of the field, and that's a bit of a danger zone where tight squeezes can happen and accidents can happen, and that's exactly what was the result of Liam Lawson's weekend. You qualify well, you get out of the trouble, hopefully, in theory, and that was the story, the other story of his, the other side of the coin when he went to Austria. Front row, pole position, 2nd place on the grid, 2 race wins. So here's Maximilian Buch, who is on for another pretty good lap here. 134, won't be a 133. And he might get himself in the top 10 if he can hold it. On board on the charge through the final chicane. Liam Lawson about to complete another lap. Started well with a 36.8 as his personal best first sector. Personal best in the last sector, but 135. Again, only 16th Was 16th, went up to 14th, dropped back to 16th and 17th. Maximilian Bug into the pits. Esteban Root, the overtaker, second youngest driver in the field, 19, just a few months younger than Liam Lawson, pushing on. Started the year qualifying well, but not getting maybe the race results that you might have expected, and it's sort of flipped around since then. Best qualifier on average this year has been the championship leader, Kelvin Vanderlinder. He's averaged 4th on the grid. He's never been lower than the 4th row of the grid. A couple of 8th place starts. He's had 3 pole positions this year, Kelvin Vanderlinder. And then you've got Liam Lawson and Max Scotts, I suppose, not surprisingly, 2nd and 3rd in the championship, who are the next best qualifiers this year. They've averaged 6th on the grid. Vanderlinder's had 3 poles, Wittmann's had 2, and they've had poles for Sheldon Vanderlinder, Liam Lawson, Daniel Gadea, Philip Ellis and Alex Albon this year. So that qualifying session is set to be electric tomorrow as we're going to round 11 of the championship. 6 races to go. So at the moment, who's the quickest driver on track? Only really Liam Lawson that's pushing at the moment. 1:35.169, not mega quick. Anja Miney's done a 1:35.0. It's not his best lap, but he's 9th at the moment. But a lot of cars either on an out lap, a build-up lap, or having gone back into the pits. Watching Esteban Root then. I'm told he's busy trying to teach himself German now, and he's learning quickly. Belgian driver. International team, T3 Motorsports, a German team, but you've got a Belgian driver, a British driver, and now guesting this weekend an Italian driver in Mirko Bertolotti. So the Lamborghini quickest, 1:34.218, 2/10 quicker than Wittmann's BMW, which in turn is just under a 10th quicker than Timo Glock's BMW, the Rover Racing machine. Distinctive gold and black McLaren going through shot, where is Christian Klein at the moment. He's in 4th with a 1:34.638. That is only 40 thousandths quicker than Mike Rockenfeller. Lucas Auer has been busy as well. He's 6th place. And Vincent Abril has just shot to the top of the times. He becomes the first driver this afternoon to get into the 1:33s. Only just, but a 1:33.904 puts Vincent Abril to the top of the times. He was quick this morning as well. The Monegasque driver did a 1:34.2, so that's his best lap so far today. He was 5th this morning. At the moment, he's the quickest driver out there. Alex Albon has got himself up as well, and so too Max Scotts. On board with him now, 1:34.013. He's gone into 2nd place. Absolute best in the first sector was where he made the time up. Personal best in sectors 2 and 3, with the lap divided into 3 portions. Correcting the steering there, Max Scotts, as he makes his way through. The HRT Mercedes out of turn 5, through turns 4 and 5. The car just got a bit loose. On the brakes in a moment, down to turn 6, which leads straight into turn 7, the right then the left. I think he's backed off a bit on this lap as we get a replay of Timo Glock super slow-mo. Taking out another of those curb markers. We had one completely flattened and sent into the middle of the circuit earlier on, and that one's come to rest on the curbs. A slightly odd line coming onto the start straight, maybe having got out of the way of Timo Glock was Christian Klein. He's not up to speed as yet in the McLaren. Getting a bit busier on circuit with Hunker down to the top of the times, 1:33.706. So that's getting close to the best lap of the day so far. Daniel Hunker 1:33.706. Half a tenth, less than half a tenth slower than the best lap from this morning. Max Scotts, though, might be about to change all of that. Really good middle sector. He wasn't far off in the first sector. There's a 1:33.9, so that puts him at 3rd. He was already 3rd, but it's his best lap of the session. So 1:33.706 for Daniel Hunker, 1:33.904 for Vincent Abril, 1:33.924. It's 20 thousandths slower for Max Scotts. They've all pushed the Lamborghini down to 4th place now. It's a Mercedes 1, 2, 3 as it stands. And Daniel Hunker is on another flying lap here, pushing hard. And absolute best in sector 2 as well. So Hungadea might be about to get, should be about to get the fastest lap of the day so far. He was only a fraction off it earlier on that previous lap. This one looks even better as long as he's neat and tidy. And that 6.2 litre V8 engine rules him through the final chicane. It's going to be a mid 133.35. Best lap of the day so far. So Hungadea, 2 consecutive quick laps. A 30-year-old to the top of the times. From a racing family, his dad a racing driver, his uncle Louis Perez Sala, a racing driver who competed in Formula 1 for the Minardi team back in the late 1980s. Raced in F3. His uncle won the Birmingham Super Prix as well back in Formula 3000 in the mid-1980s. And that's what's left of the marker, completely flattened now by Daniel Hungadea. Knows all about pushing a car to the limits, and I think he's going to be one of the drivers looking forward to going to the Norris Ring, the fantastic street circuit, which will be our last weekend of the season in about a month's time, because he is a former winner of the Macau Grand Prix. Fantastic Formula 3 street race. Mike Rockenfeller's just improved up to 7th with a 134.499. Interesting thing about that is he's exactly the same time as Alex Albon, to within a thousandth of a second. Albon set the time first, so he's 6th, Rockenfeller 7th. Cars roaring through shot. A huge investment made to this circuit over the years. Assen, much shorter than it was originally in the 1950s, where it was like Spa, Francorchamps, as a road circuit really that connected villages. And it was first used as a track back in 1926 for the Dutch TT Tourist Trophy motorcycle race. And the original circuit was 28.5 kilometres long, 17.7 miles long. These days it's 4.5 kilometres long. It's about 2.8 miles. The circuit then developed in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Millions of euros invested in it to various upgrades. They built these new hospitality buildings, these fantastic grandstands that overlook the start and finish of the lap as well. 21 years ago they built the new race control tower, new pit garages, and increased the size of the paddock as well by 50% to 60,000 square metres. So a lot of investment, 23 million euros spent upgrading the circuit, which is now a premier venue, in particular for MotoGP. One of the highlights of the MotoGP calendar of the Dutch fans out in abundance, where the two-wheel races come to town. It's been on the DTM calendar since 2019. Looking at Daniel Hungadea now being pushed up on the trolley and wheeled back into the Gruppe M Racing garage, having set the quickest time of the day so far. He's nearly 0.6 of a second quicker than anybody else in this session. Abril with a 133.904 closest to him, but a 133.353 from Daniel Hungadea. A real sign of intent. Things starting to go the right way now. I've been struggling with the setup for the last couple of rounds, but I think something clicked in that second race at Austria. The result wasn't as great as he wanted it to be because of the penalty that he had, but he was quick enough to run in the top 6. A 5-second penalty dumping him right down the order in the end. Hungadea finishing 12th, but he would have been was he 5th, 6th without the penalty. On board with Calvin Vanderlinder, who's one of the drivers that benefited from Hungadea's penalty, promoting him up into the top 6. And Philippe Ellis, again, quiet like he was in first free practice, quiet in free practice 2, and then suddenly he starts to fly. So Ellis coming through shot now, one of the 2, Winward Mercedes, teammate to Lucas Auer. Let's see what he can do. Sheldon Vanderlinder, meanwhile, has gone 4th. Calvin Vanderlinder has gone 6th, and he's on a better lap here, potentially. 36.6 through the first sector. He's 0.2 down on the absolute best first sector time. His best lap is a second adrift at the moment, though, so if he loses 0.2 in sector 2 and a 10th or 2 in sector 3, it's still going to be a much closer to the top of the times than he was. Maximilian Buch in the pits, Sophia Florsch coming into the pits, and Buch released back out onto the track. So Sheldon Vanderlinder got up to fourth with a 134.202. The older brother, the championship leader, 2/10 down at the moment. A 36.9 through the middle sector. So it was 2/10 down on the absolute best first sector time. But he's 7/10 down in that middle sector, so it's not going to be a flying lap, this. He might just improve his own time, but he's still going to be more than a second adrift. So 134.7. So no, he's 3/10 down in the end. Lost all the time, really, in the middle of the lap. He stays out. Going perhaps on a longer run now. Philip Ellis's first push lap put him into 11th, 134.557, but that's 1.2 seconds away from the fastest time of the session. We've got most of the top 10 into the pits currently, including Hungadea, who you've seen heading back for the garage. Van Abril's back out, building up at the moment. Gott's in third, Sheldon Vanderlinder fourth, both in. But you've got Esteban Moot fifth and Kelvin Vanderlinder sixth, both on track. Super slow-mo of Kelvin. South African Nürburgring 24-hour race winner and ADAC GT Masters champion. Attacking the curbs, just about missing the markers, but exploring the limits as much as he can in the Audi R8. Through they go. Abril and Ellis and mining all of the pits. So if you want some clear track space, now's the time to go out, because there's only about 7 or 8 cars on track as it stands. Quickest driver out there at the moment with a 134.9 is Dev Gore. American driver who missed the Nürburgring event, came back for the Red Bull Ring event and had a bit of a nightmare weekend, all told. 2 non-finishes. So Dev Gore will be looking to improve here. Team Rosberg had a pretty good start to the weekend with Nico Muller second quickest this morning. Nico's only 14th at the moment, but I think concentrating on longer run pace. A couple of times this year, Nico, not necessarily through choice, but the way the cards have fallen, he's managed to make a set of tyres last almost the whole race. You have to do a mandatory pit stop, but a couple of times he's come in right at the end of the race, and his lap times haven't really dropped off, so he's a very, very smooth driver, Nico Muller. But he doesn't want to be nursing tyres, he wants to be getting stuck in and going for silverware. He's only 9th in the championship. No points picked up at all at the Red Bull Ring. A really frustrating visit to Spielberg for Nico Muller. On board with Liam Lawson in the Ferrari. 19th of the 21 runners currently, but 36.5 through the first sector. Not bad. Personal best. Well, what was that? Christian Kleen's McLaren possibly there, just flashing out of the shot that was stopped at the side of the track. It was. So Christian Kleen has stopped. That looks like a car technical problem rather than he's had an off, the way the car is just positioned at the edge of the track. Doesn't look like he's gone into the gravel trap or anything like that. So Christian Kleen's McLaren stops out on track. She's bringing about the waved yellow flags. Shame for Christian, as he'd been going well up until that point. Both free practice sessions. So hopefully he can get going again. He has got going again, so that's good news. Christian Kleen off and running. We did see him going a bit slowly out of the final chicane at about 10 minutes into the session, so it might be a recurring problem. Try and find out more ahead of tomorrow, but the McLaren for now looks like it's running fine again. Dare say I'll take it back for a quick check. No, he won't. He'll stay out. So happy enough that the car is okay. Over the line he goes to try again. Christian Kleen, like Timo Glock and Alex Albon, making 3 ex-Formula 1 drivers on the grid. Ex in the very loosest sense of the word for Alex Albon, because he's still not racing this year, about to be a racing driver in Formula 1 again next year. Timo Glock had his best days in Formula 1 as a Toyota racer. That was their Toyota Panasonic team were pushing towards the front of the field in Grand Prix racing. Maximilian Boot with a personal best, a very good first sector time actually, 36.5. It's only a 10th slower than the absolute best. And this doesn't happen very often. One driver has got the best times in all 3 sectors. Normally, you set up the car, it's quicker, slightly quicker through one area than another. But Daniel Hunkeday is quickest in sector 1, he's quickest in sector 2, he's quickest in sector 3. Those two blitzing laps that he put in as Mike Rockenfeller goes 4th, 134.132. Liam Lawson goes 7th with a 134.2. And Maximilian Buch goes into the top 10 as well, 8th place, 134.307. Quicker qualifying tight run starting to come now. Max has looked fairly competitive here so far this weekend. Rocky now the leading Audi. And we've got the 3 Mercedes at the top of the timing screen. Audi 4th, BMW 5th, Lamborghini, Ferrari 6th and 7th. And now, I was about to say, McLaren is the only brand that's not represented in the top 10, but Christian Klein, I've got the car up and running again, has just put his best lap of the session in to go 5th. So the McLaren with a 134.135. Alex Albon trying to push himself up the order now as well. See what he can do. Winner at the Nürburgring 2 rounds ago, and then a 4th and a non-points finish, or non-finish in the second race at the Red Bull Ring. Albon 12th at the moment, no improvement on that lap. So Rockenfeller with a 134.132 and Klein with a 134.135, both within 0.003 of a second of each other. There's Christian coming through shot, coming up to Marco Wittmann, and a personal best through the first sector, which is only a fraction, just a few hundredths slower than the absolute best first sector time. So the 38-year-old Austrian pushing here to get himself up, if not at the top of the times, then near to them. It's a very good lap. Marco Wittmann lets him through. Known for Formula 1 in his days as a Red Bull racer and Jaguar racer. Red Bull, of course, was born from the Jaguar Formula 1 team. Never got on the podium in Formula 1, but had a strong 5th place finish at the Chinese Grand Prix in 2005. But he has did lots of GT racing in the last few years, and there you go, 6th place. It's a decent lap again. It's faded away a little bit, but a 134.156 almost matched the lap he did before. So that's consistency for you. 134.135 followed by 134.156. 2 laps within 21,000ths of a second of each other. Looked like he might just improve, but just lost a little bit of time in the middle of the sector, maybe when he was finding a way past Marco Wittmann to go on board now with SpongeBob Max Scotts. And how's he doing at the moment? 3rd. Best's a 133.924, and that's a 133.83. So puts him up ahead of Vincent Abril now into 2nd place. And Max Buch has gone up into 4th position. So the Mercedes looking really strong in this second free practice session. Certainly in terms of single lap pace anyway. It's 4 Mercedes now at the top of the timing screen. Hunkeday, Gotts, Abril and Buch. Best of the rest is Mike Rockenfeller's Audi. Christian Klein's McLaren is 6th. Best BMW, Sheldon Vanderlinder in 7th. Best Ferrari, Liam Lawson in 9th place. Mike Rockenfeller's Audi is up there, but it's the only one, really. Kelvin Vanderlinder is 10th. Muller's 16th. Gore is 17th. Florsch in 20th. Lucas Auer thundering through. V8 roars over the line, but it's a 134.71. Argemini back out, generating some heat into the tyres as well. And it looks like Marco Wittmann is pushing, or beginning to push here in the Volkenhorst BMW, as Kelvin Vanderlinder looks to respond now. 36.5 through the first sector. That's a tenth, within a tenth of the best first sector time. Sophia Florsch puts a personal best first sector in as well. It's a good effort, 36.78. Liam Lawson improving on his previous lap. He's in 7th place now with a 134.192. Sophia Florsch does a 36.9 through the middle sector. Daniel Huncaday's best middle sector time is a 36.2 though, so that's where she's losing the majority of her time. She wasn't far behind sector 1. Sector 2, she loses a big chunk of time. This is definitely going to be a decent lap from Sophia though. Still getting used to these cars into DTM over the line with the 134.77. There are 4 drivers in the 134.7s, so if she found 0.2 of a second, she'd be up into 12th and 13th place. It's pretty tight in the second half of the field. Right, Kelvin Vanderlinder was looking to improve, and he did. He went second with that last lap, 133.513. Lucas Auer is on a charge, though, 36.5 and a 36.4 through the first two sectors. Sector 3 is only around 21 seconds long. Takes in the last few corners. And the Mercedes comes sprinting through. Is it going to be a 133 second lap? Yeah, 133.73. Lugi goes into third place. So we've got a Spaniard quickest, a South African second, an Austrian third, a German fourth, and Monegasque in fifth place. Talk about an international field. Just under 10 minutes to go. And Marco Wittmann looking to show a bit more pace in this session. As I say, it's been a great qualifier of late. First two weekends of the season, qualifier was the real weakness for the Vulcan-Horse BMW. Couldn't get into the first few rows of the grid. Best was 10th. The session is stopped. So the red flags come out and the session is stopped. Why is that? Somebody stopped out on track. The clock will continue to tick down because it's a practice session. If it were qualifying, the clock would stop. Wait to see who hasn't come back through now and completed sector times. SB Hawkey just comes into the pits, so she's safely back. It might be something else, but it's usually a car off, but it might be something on the track. Occasionally it's a timing issue that brings about stoppages, but we'll see if we're missing a car. Not sure we are. So just when they were getting ready, some of the drivers to push on and have one more crack at a qualifying type run, the red flags come out, and of course the clock ticks down. You lose the time getting back up to speed once you're allowed back on the track as well, because a minute and a half lap, but getting out of the pits can take a minute if you're in a queue, and another minute to get up to speed. So I might not get many more laps at this, depending on how long this red flag period is for. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars we're waiting to come back to the pits. Alex Albon's one of them, but we know he's safe because he's just come through the shot. And that's Max Gotts, isn't it? Yeah, Max Gotts comes through. He's headed back for the pit, so he's okay. So we're waiting for Gadea, Auer, Sheldon Vanderlinder. I think we've seen Marco Wittmann. Arjun Maini. There's another one that's not yet come back to the pits. But again, it's not necessarily a car that's gone off that's brought about the red flags. If there's a piece of debris or something similar on the circuit, they might look, or oil or something like that, they might look to stop the session for that reason. Marshall's coming onto the circuit here. There's definitely bits of debris around, but is it the curb they're looking at? I think they're going to look at the curb, aren't they? So the curbs have taken a bit of a pounding, so it's that inside curb that they're looking at. And that, I think, is the reason for the stoppage rather than we've got a car off. Wait to confirm that, but most of them are back to the pits now. Still waiting for Albon, but we've seen him. Still waiting for Gotts, we've seen him. We haven't seen Gadea, I don't think. Sheldon Vanderlinder. They're the other two we're waiting for. Okay, so I'm told it's a piece of carbon stuck in the curb and has dislodged the curb. So that's the reason why. So hopefully it'll be quick work. They're straight on it, that's for sure, the team here at Assen. And if they can deal with it in the next couple of minutes, we should be able to get 1 or 2 more flying laps. But the session, which was delayed for reasons outside of DTM to begin with, now comes to a slightly abrupt halt. So they're working away as quickly as they can. Drivers will stay in the car and be ready to go back out if they can. All right, replay. And this is the curb in question. Marker board taken away. Not the first. That was Marco Wittmann this time. That's not the reason that the session has been stopped. It's something more to do with the structure of the curb there, rather than one of those floppy markers, which have taken a bit of a pounding so far today as drivers push it to the limits to get close to the curbs. But again, there's a long, long list of drivers that are being warned on the screen by the officials. You must respect the track limits. And in qualifying, if you do it, You get warnings, but up to a point, then you start to get punished. If you are judged to have broken track limits regulations on your lap, that lap is taken away from you. Not your fastest lap, but the lap on which you were doing it. And then, of course, once you've done it, everybody's watching you. They've got a few spares of those, because I think we've had 3 or 4 destroyed already today, and it's not even race day yet. And once they're down, that's less of a distraction for the drivers going into the corners, less of a reason for them to stay off the curbs. So, of course, then they all run over it, and it gets even more flattened. Right, good job done by the team. They're clearing the area already, so might just get time for a lap or 2 here. The car's being released back out onto the circuit because they've got to do an out lap, which is going to take 2.5 minutes, get out of the pits. So, again, it might just be 1 lap. I'm not sure they're going to get too much out of this. So, there's another piece of plastic off to floppy marker heaven. I'll find some more spares, I'm sure, ready for tomorrow.
10 seconds.
And there you go, 10 seconds is the call on the radio. Philip Ellis at the head of the queue, which is going to be important because if you're at the back of the queue, might cost you a lap here. Straight out, Ellis and Miney.
Now as well.
So they're going to get back around with about 2 minutes left on the clock, which means they can do 1 lap getting up to speed. Then they'll come back with about 30 seconds left on the clock to have 1 more push lap. But if you're at the back of the queue and you're still coming out of the pits, whether you get that extra lap in, it's going to be tight, I suspect. Other problem, they're all bunched up together now. So, A, you want to give yourself a bit of space so you don't get held up on a flying lap, delayed by traffic. But, of course, you can't slow up too much because it's all about the race against the clock now. Avril gets out. It's tight, though, the garage at HRT. So teammate Matt Scotts is still in. Daniel Hungadea, who's quickest at the moment, goes back out. And Liam Lawson, one of the last to leave. Finally, Matt Scotts goes out. So lights at the tyres, keen to get on with this. 3 minutes to go. He's going to get back around with a minute to go. So he's not, that's the difference. He's not going to get that extra lap in. If you're at the front of the queue, if you're Philip Ellis, you get a push lap, you get an out lap, a push lap, and then a flying lap. But Gotts is only going to get 1 lap after he gets back around to the start-finish line. So that'll be a frustration to him and to 1 or 2 other drivers as well. Maybe Liam Lawson as well might struggle to get 2 quick laps in here. Philip Ellis, no problem at all, though. He's away, isn't he? Off he goes. Miney and Clean next to the queue. That's when the Abs Sports line out is. Is it Rocky? I think it was Rocky. That was next up. And so there you go, just over 2 minutes to go. Ellis is already through. Miney's onto a lap. He's going to get 1 more in after this. Will be the next lap that will be the flying push laps, really. 1:33.353 seconds the time to beat. And Daniel Hungadea quickest in 2 of the 3 sectors now on his flying lap. Okay, Bortolotti actually quickest in the first sector, but he's only 20th at the moment. That's not quickest now, but when he did his personal best lap. So 20th for Bortolotti, and Bortolotti and Hawkey 20th and 21st, the 2 Lamborghinis. Esteban Muti was top of the times for a while, 11th. So Miney pushing on, got himself away from Clean now. He's Rocky next in the queue, then Nico Muller, who was 2nd quickest this morning, but he's only 16th quickest at the moment. 1 more dress rehearsal ahead of qualifying tomorrow morning. Christian Clean looking very racy so far this weekend, but question mark over the car stopping out on circuit once or twice. 36.49 is a very good first sector for Argentine, and a 36.51 is pretty decent as well. So overall, on the absolute best lap time, he's 2 to 3 tenths down. But if he's 2 to 3 tenths down at the end of the lap, he's going to be somewhere up in the top 5. So Argentine here looking to get a 1:33. Should do it, I think. Through he goes, over the line, 1:33.81, 4th place. Clean goes through next. Gets another lap in, 35 seconds left on the clock. Philip Ellis at the head of the queue, we know, went through. Lucas Auer back in the pits, and Ellis has gone in the pits as well. So that's it. He's not going to complete any more laps. Top of the times in free practice 1, 17th in free practice 2 for Philip Ellis. Alex Albon pushing. Nico Muller did his best lap of the session as well to get up to 10th place. And Arjun Maini, see what he can do on this one. Albon improves a little bit, and Marco Wittmann improves up to 8th place with that lap as the flag comes out on the session. So next time through, last time through for everybody in terms of recording a time. There's Arjun Maini getting on this second flying lap, 36.7 through the first sector, so he's down, so he's not going to improve on this one. We have got Maximilian Buch on a personal best, and we've got Marco Wittmann absolute best through the last sector to get himself up to that 8th place. Maximilian Buch had a decent start to the lap. Slightly quicker is Nico Muller. They're both about a 10th down, a 10th and a half down, I should say, on the fastest first sector time. But Nico Muller puts a really good second sector in, 36.47. So overall, he's just about 2.5 tenths of a second down. Christian Klein still pushing on. At the moment, he's just about in 10th place. He comes through. Does he find any more time? No, he's the answer. Nico Muller does, though. It was a good lap, that. 6th place for Nico. Mirko Bortolotti should improve upon 20th, that's for sure, but where it put him? Somewhere in the middle, I think. Hunkadea's taken the flag already. It looks like he's going to end the session at the top of the times. There is the flag. Bortolotti finds good time in the second half of the lap, so it's 6th place in the end, 133.848. And that is now 8 drivers that broke the 134 second bracket. Double what we had breaking that barrier this morning. And Dev Gore having an excursion on his last flying lap to dirty the Michelin tyres with a trip through the gravel trap in his Team Rosberg Audi. He's going to end the session in 20th place. Well, his teammate having a much brighter day, Nico Muller. Was 6th, got pipped to 7th, down to 7th after Bortolotti put that one charging lap in. So Daniel Hunkadea ends the day as the quickest driver, quickest in that session, quickest overall today with a 133.353. Kelvin Vanderlinder second, 133.513. That is promising. Lucas Auer has been quick today as well, 133.737, third in that session. Arjun Maini improved on his last but one lap, 133.819 for 4th. Max Scott's 133.837, just a fraction behind in 5th. And then Bortolotti in 6th, Muller 7th, Abril 8th, Buch and Wittmann rounding out the top 10. There then is confirmation of the result. And Mercedes looking strong because you had Hunkadea fastest, but you also had Auer 3rd, Maini 4th, and Gotts in 5th place. Vincent Abril and Max Buch, Mercedes in the top 10 as well. Best of the Audis, as is so often the case this year, Kelvin Vanderlinder. Guest driver, but with extra sets of fresh tyres, Mirko Bortolotti, coming home in 6th place in that session to round out a good day for the T3 Motorsport team. And just the one at BMW in the top 10 of the driver. 4th in the championship standings, Marco Wittmann. There, the rest of the runners. Christian Klein had a pretty active day, and they can see how close it was. 16 drivers covered by less than 9 tenths of a second in that session. 21 cars taking part in the 2:45-minute free practice sessions. And tomorrow, of course, we look forward to qualifying and round 11 of DTM 2021. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of free practice from Assen. From me, Chris Hartley, it's goodbye for now.